Let's get more reaction to the story now. Lindsay Dentlinger is in Parliament. She joins us live for more reaction from opposition parties. Lindsay?
Yes, Shahan. So the President really in keeping with that, his original State of the Nation address, looking for the positive, telling us that the glass is half full rather than empty. And probably one of the main points to come out of his reply is saying we need to mobilize a team of scientists to develop our own vaccines. But with me I have the DA's John Steenhuisen, the leader of the party, who just 2 days ago said that the President was a nowhere man. John, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Is the President still a nowhere man? Are you somewhat encouraged by his response this afternoon?
A lot less encouraged by today's contribution. It was not a response to the State of the Nation. It was a repetition of some of the things that he spoke about. But even just completely nowhere land on some of the things he announced. Talking about a state pharmaceutical company that's going to create vaccines. We've got a state pharmaceutical country. It was called Ketlapela. It was set up in 2012. And it has been nowhere in this COVID-19 pandemic. So clearly, more talk from nowhere land. I'm the first person to look for the positives in any situation. But today the President just failed fundamentally to deal with the critical issues that are holding us back from filling that glass all the way to the top. Things like corruption, things like a determined time frame on Eskom and electricity. He said we must smell the coffee. You cannot even put the kettle on often because the electricity is off. So really, I think even more out of touch speech today with what the lived reality is for most South Africans.
He's welcomed your suggestion to put forward plans, your own bills that you plan to table in Parliament. He says, let's throw it all into the pot. Will you be taking him up on his offer? And how do you engage him to have a look at your plans and not just dismiss them as coming from the opposition benches?
Well, as I said in my speech this year, that we are going to proactively table an agenda of reform. Those private members' bills have already started going in. More will be tabled, and we're going to use the first 5 months of this year to table those private members' bills that will actually see concrete reforms taking place. Not the talk we've heard in the House, concrete reforms, because I can guarantee you that most of the stuff we've heard from the President's SONA last week and again today, we're going to be talking about again next year when you interview me for SONA.
The President says that his State of the Nation address is about progress rather than plans. Do you agree with him?
Progress? Yet to see a single big politician in jail. So corruption, no progress. We've got rolling blackouts around the country that is killing our industry and killing jobs. No progress. Jobs have gone backwards. We've lost millions more jobs. So there's no progress there. Crime is up. Gender-based violence is up. No progress there. So we've got to actually, if we want to deal with and tackle these things seriously, it's got to be about less waffle from the podium in Parliament and more concrete plans. That's how things are changed. Not from talk in the union buildings, but bringing your reform agenda to the floor of Parliament and getting it passed. I've showed him a pathway to achieve his reform agenda. It's up to him now to take the offer up.
Thank you very much, John. Quickly, Kuleko Shengwa, please keep your mask on, though, Kuleko. From the IFP spokesperson, do you share some of the sentiments that John has just expressed there? What do you take away from from the President aiming to encourage and keep South Africans positive?
It was a missed opportunity to improve on last week, because we left last week having felt that the President was on repetition mode, having regurgitated things and promises. And so today we are less inspired, really, because there's an opportunity to substantively engage on the issues that members had raised. So once again, the President spoke in very general and generic terms, and there's nothing substantive that actually comes out of it. And of course, we want to support the President's vision of a South Africa that is free of corruption, where South Africans have got jobs and the economy is growing. But it seems as if the path that the President is taking is one that does not inspire confidence. And we want to, of course, the President calling on all of us to come together as a nation to deal with issues. Prince Buthelezi on Tuesday made a very direct call to the President for the resuscitation and continuation of reconciliation between the IFP and the ANC. That is part of the roadmap towards the kind of working together that I'm speaking about. But of course, there too, again, no response. And so obviously something has got to give next week when the Minister of Finance actually tables the budget, because that may, hopefully, or we're expecting that it does, provide clarity substantively on the key priority areas of government, and we look at the spending and the shifts that will take place. But obviously what was said last week and what was said today does not go in a direction which says we can be confident about a government that actually got its wits about it. And of course the President speaks about progress. Well, the fundamental issue is that there's regression. The President speaks about the assets in the balance sheet. Well, they have been eroding those assets in the balance sheet, and so with each passing day the country is taking steps backwards, and it does not seem to have a full grasp of that reality.
Thank you very much. Mkhuleko Shlenga from the IFP. I'm asking Reverend Meshwe, the ACDP leader, to step up. Reverend, when we spoke a week ago, you were not happy that the President wasn't saying enough on corruption. Not very much said this afternoon, again, other than saying that the state will never again be captured again. Or what do you take from the President's reply this afternoon?
You know, on Tuesday and Wednesday, members of Parliament raised issues they were concerned about, and they asked questions. And when you looked at the subject for today, the subject was response to the State of the Nation address. So the President had to tell the nation what he's saying about what we said, the questions we asked, and he totally ignored everything we said.
But the President says the State of the Nation reply is about providing progress in what government's making and not necessarily outlining plans. Are you satisfied with the progress that he's outlined this afternoon?
No. He is incorrect. He is not following the protocols of Parliament. The right protocol is to respond to what the opposition leaders are saying so that they can learn from them. We raise questions. I raise questions about the National Development Program, okay, and the Great Reset. I thought he was going to say we respect the brains of the 26 people who came together to put the National Development Plan together. He didn't say anything about that, like a person who truly on Tuesday did not listen to the debate, on Wednesday did not listen to the debate. He just carried on today on what he left, where he left on Thursday last week. So we are greatly disappointed.
Thank you very much. Reverend Meshwe, if I can quickly ask our last guest here, the Chief Whip of the Freedom Front Plus. Your party always comes out very strongly on the issue of land. This afternoon, I dare say the President said more today about the land question than he did a week ago. What do you take away from what he had to say?
Well, we heard what he said about land question. We take note of it. It's that very difficult game that the President is trying to play to appease all sides. I think you can't do that. You have to take a firm decision that you're in favour of property rights or not. You cannot have it both ways. Halfway during the speech, I was under the impression that I may be at the wrong venue. The programme of Parliament clearly indicates that this is a reply to the debate. There was no reply to the debate. It was State of the Nation Part 2. And as far as I'm concerned, it's undermining the institution of Parliament. And the Executive and the President should not do that. We deserve to be replied to. But members have made inputs in terms of the debate. And we are not interested just to listen to further SONA Part 2.
The President says many of those, the part of that debate was very slanderous and unnecessary. And so he wasn't going to respond to it. Your party called specifically for him to come out strongly against his predecessors' refusal to cooperate with the Zondo Commission of Inquiry?
Of course. Yes, I agree. Certain parts of the debate was slanderous, and I don't expect him to reply to that. But many issues was brought to the table, and we did bring certain issues to the table, specific issues with regard to corruption and his predecessors and his own role and his own involvement. And you really can't just shy away from that and duck and dive and do not answer. It was not a reply to Parliament, it was an undermining of this institution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of the Freedom Front Plus. Sorry, Shahan, I said my last guest, but the acting minister in the presidency, I think it's important we hear her side as one of the implementers of what the President has to say this afternoon. Minister Kumbutso Ntshavheni, what do you take away from the President's reply this afternoon? You're hearing opposition parties here not quite satisfied, saying he hasn't really responded to their concerns raised in the debate.
Unfortunately, they were not raising concerns that were building the country in the debate. It was degenerating, and he has clarified that. As a government, we remain committed to the implementation of that work, and that's what we continue to emphasize today, that our work is focused on implementation, and let's not look at the glass being half empty, but let's look at it half full. As ministers, we are encouraged that our marching orders are clear, that we must focus on the work at hand, and because South Africa will rise, and South Africa is indeed rising, and we've got serious endowments that we must celebrate as a nation.
And how will you be measured on on delivering on these promises that the President's making?
Like he referred to earlier, and even in the debate, I indicated that our performance agreements are now public, and therefore our performance scores will have to be public, because we table quarterly reports to the public, we do all the things and say, is this department performing? And now, as an acting minister in the presidency, we have a responsibility to make sure that we measure that performance and report back to the nation on that performance in terms of our colleagues and the departments.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you for having us.
Shahan, so response there from the opposition, not satisfied that the President has sufficiently answered their questions and their concerns raised in the debate, but you also hear from the acting Minister of the Presidency saying there are now performance agreements in place, and she is ready to be held accountable for delivering on those promises the President has made here in the House last week and again this afternoon. Back to you.
Yeah, interesting. We're going to leave it right there. Lindsay Dentlinger in Parliament.